Greetings. My name is Russ Hatfield, and as usual, I am joined by my twin soul Kara, who is a higher dimensional member of Ashtar Command, stationed on a base on Mars, also in a higher dimension. As we get into the channeling session for the month of October, we don't have very many notes to go over. What we do have is that this is one of the unusual sessions where they let Tia use most of the first half to go over the stock market and world events. Those who are new to our site, we like to explain that Tia is head of one of the data collection units that monitor Earth to help the base predict future events. We get the asset of her research during her times channeling. Another note we'd like to add is that Tia and I often got into discussions that covered both sides of the political aisle. While she has a more conservative view on governments, mine is more liberal and leads to lively back and forths that take place during her time talking in this session. Something else that is noteworthy is the coincidental timeliness of the subjects, where the stock market is experiencing similar changes as she describes, and confidential documents being found where they shouldn't have been. Next, we have Omal, who uses what little time is left on the side to go over some the areas that Tia covered, so that they can be tied together. That is how side 2 starts, with Omal showing how all of them are related in ways that point to a direction our society is heading. Our next honored speaker is Ashtar himself, who has come on to help with a request from Mark about a defense mechanism that can be triggered to protect against negative thoughts from outside the group. What he describes is a bit mysterious, but we move on after that to the development of the group consciousness of the planet. His message is to continue to develop our knowledge and mental skills. Kara then takes over as a speaker from there to help me grasp better what Ashtar was discussing. All the heavy information I got was to a point where she wished to lighten the mood a bit. So she skipped giving her dissertation that she had planned on and went instead into a fascinating discussion on the role of a medic in the Syrian Defense Force. She was a member once, and what medics have to do when confronted by patients needing help amidst an invasion by a superior number of opponents is what we talk about. We finally wrap this up with Kiri, who comes on to work with me on some changes to the web page she'd like to see. We learned through our discussion about the months on Sirius that determines a person's birth month. Hers was on the month of the cold moons, which we worked out to be somewhere near December. We even get to find out Tia's birth month. For a full transcript of this latest channeling session, please go to our main homepage at HadesBaseNews.com. We invite you to subscribe to be kept informed of future postings on our YouTube channel from the members of Ashtar Command. We now present our latest entry into the Hades Base archives, recorded in 1998, Problems of the World and Its Group Consciousness.
We're live. Constructive web page edition.
Okay.
From Tia.
Yes.
I thought you had something already ready to go. You were just
Wait,
waiting for me to just.
You left it kind of hanging, like you were going to say something that's sort of like.
Well, I put a title in front of it.
Oh, is that what you're going to call it?
Yeah, constructive web page editions from Tia.
Can't you think of any better name?
Tia's constructive web page editions.
Don't worry about it. Okay. Well, remember about a month ago, I made the comment about the stock market going through the 8,000 mark.
Mm-hmm. You said it looked like it would go through the 8,000 mark.
Now, I'm going to say definitely.
Definitely. Alright.
Definitely going to go through the 8,000 mark. Today, it set another new record.
Another new record?
30th of the year. This year, the stock market has grown 24%, well, it's actually about 23.5%. but let's round it up for the sake of argument. 24%. Now, what does that tell us? Well, it's grown almost a quarter in size.
So does this look forward to then another hike in the interest rates?
No, because the economy is slowing down. And with the economy slowing down, inflation is also slowing down.
Good. That's positive.
That is a positive. However, the economy and the stock market are linked in a way. If the economy slows down, right, and interest rates aren't hiked, right, that means that the stock market's going to grow. But if the economy is slowing down, what does that mean? Well, that means that people aren't producing or being as active as they were. Which means that there's not as much going on as before.
Well, now you've confused me. Because as I remember, with the stock market going up, that means there's more money to be invested because there's more money being made. More money to be invested means a growth in the economy.
Not
slow as it is, there'll still be a growth.
Yes, true, but as the economy slows, this affects the stock market.
So you're saying we're looking at a drop in the stock market thing coming up?
I've always said that, haven't I?
Well, yeah, but we never pointed out what point.
No, and I'm not going to point out what point at the moment because it's all projections that are based on certain events happening. One of my comments was about the stock market, not the stock market, the economy slowing down, and that it hasn't been grown as robustly as people claim or would like. What is normal is that the economy grows at about 7% a year. Normal. It hasn't done this in over 8 years. Why hasn't it done this in over 8 years? Well, there was a mini recession, and that was one of the factors. So, why is the stock market growing when it's not a growing economy at its normal rate? I think they talk about 4.5% being great and incredible, when in actual fact 7% is the normal, or so far this century is the normal. But we're looking at these factors, that the economy is not growing as rapidly as would be liked. Well, the stock market, because of the lack of increases in interest rates, goes crazy. People can invest, spend their money within the stock market, and increase the productivity of the stock market, bumping up the price of shares. Now, the amount of shares that are around has grown, but it hasn't grown at the same level as the stock market's grown. The only thing that's making the stock market grow is the price of the shares. For example, let's say last year you put in $100, right? That $100 is now worth $123.50. Okay? Which is 23.5% increase for the one share. Okay? So to say that there is more out there is wrong. To say that the price of the shares have increased is correct, but not the quantity. It may have gone up only 3 or 4% the amount of shares out there. So why the big difference? Well, the difference is caused by the lack of increasing interest rates, which makes the stock market more interesting to invest in. But what happens if the economy slows down and there is less money out there to invest in the stock market? Well, people start to pull their money out. And what happens when people pull their money out? It goes down. When it goes down, problems occur. More people panic and they pull out. Sometimes people will say, okay, they're profit taking today. But it depends on the actions and how big. For a stock market to jump 100 plus points in a single day is pretty unusual. And the fact that this has been going on for 6 months and 8 days is kind of a little bit unusual that it would grow so rapidly and violently. It only seems a little while ago, I believe back in November, that it broke the 6,000 mark. You remember?
7,000.
Okay, 7,000. But reaching the 7,000 mark took it a very long time. At least 4 years. The fact that now, all of a sudden, it is close to the 8,000 mark in 6 months and 8 days since the turn of the year. It was a little bit alarming to me, the fact that people are investing so rapidly. I see in my projections that this trend will continue, that people will pump money into the stock market, buying more shares, increasing the value of shares. But actions occurring at this time externally are what is inflating the stock market. A, the lack of a hike in the interest rate to slow the economy. It's doing it naturally. Inaction by the government. Action by the government that is causing the economy to slow. At the moment is a golden time. Okay, let's cover the stock market in today's events. Let's move on to something that is slightly related or that I brought up at the end. Okay, the inaction of the government. The government is currently concerned with internal domestic problems, i.e. the White House. Okay, we have going on at the moment at the White House the investigation of Vince Foster's death. I think her name's Paula Jones. The Paula Jones thing going on. That is in court. That is happening right now. It's not in the preliminary stages. It's happening right now. It's going on. The Whitewater investigations. Still going on. Campaign finance reforms and investigations onto irregularities of individuals within both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, but focused mainly on the Republican Party. Why? We'll get to that in a second. Lastly, and not least, very serious, very, very serious matter that is only just starting to come to light. I can't remember the gentleman's name except for it ends with Wang. In his safe was found 10 confidential governmental documents that had no right being there. And they weren't originals, they were copies, photocopies. He had no authorization to have these documents. Do you know where his office is?
In the White House?
Correct. Okay, so we have these 5 events going on. Okay, now let's look at the one that's just started today. Campaign finance. Okay, let us look at campaign finance. There's a Republican that admitted and handed back the money that was given to him. Okay, he handed the money back. He admitted it. Subsequently, I believe that he has stepped down and said, I did wrong, I have paid the money back. He's done the honourable thing. He admitted it. He gave the money back, and it was only maybe $200,000. Now, let us look at something a little bit more serious. First of all, let me preface it by when George Bush sent out letters of briefings to contributors, which is a perfectly legitimate move, on White House stationery, it caused a big uproar. Now, this has been compared to what is happening right now. The selling of the Lincoln bedroom, the renting out for $100,000 to $200,000 a night to people that contribute to the White House or the Democratic National Congress. Here's a problem. It is illegal to accept, and this is in your government's policies and procedures book, it is illegal to accept contributions in the White House for any person of a political organization at all. It doesn't matter if you are, let's say, member of the Green Party and you are given $20 in the White House. That's illegal. To give a donation to stay in the White House for $100,000 to $200,000 a night is illegal due to the fact that you are giving the person who more than likely is a member of a political organization the money. You can give it to somebody that works there that is not affiliated with any party. But as soon as that person gives the money within the White House to another person, it is illegal. It is against the law. End of story. But, and this is what they're saying, is that the money was not given inside the White House. But still they are renting out a government building to people. Anybody. If you had $200,000 for us, and you went to the Democratic National Congress and said, I would like to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. Here's $200,000. I'd also like to meet Bill Clinton. They would do it. They wouldn't ask you where you got your money from or how you got it. They may look into your background to see whether or not you have more. Okay, some of these characters, or people that have stayed at the White House, have been foreign businessmen. This is where it starts to get tricky. Another person was a member of an Arkansas restaurant business. Wang Jun, I believe, was his name. He contributed $150,000. Subsequently, it has been found that he was given that money by Oriental businessmen from Singapore and Hong Kong. Those businessmen had links to another person that was living in the United States by the name of Charlie Tree. Charlie Tree has subsequently disappeared, and the only person that can get hold of him is Tom Brokaw. Whenever he contacts him, he claims that he is living just outside Shanghai. Charlie Tree is also another person that paid an exorbitant amount of money to stay at the Lincoln bedroom. Charlie Tree also has friends in the... I wouldn't let them in at the moment if I was you. There's food supply. Charlie Tree is refusing to return to the United States of America. A gentleman by the name of Wang whatever is refusing to talk to the Finance Committee about any of his fundraising efforts, but is willing to talk about his espionage charge. He is currently unable to be contacted, and there have been some long-distance telephone calls to try to get hold of him. Today, at the start of the investigation, John Glenn made a statement about investigating a Republican and saying that he had pictures and he presented the slideshow, and this is old news. He also said that Mr. Wang would talk to the committee, but wanted immunity from prosecution on anything to do with the finance reform scheme and the Democrats. He would answer questions only on the espionage charge. Mr. Wang also happens to know Charlie Tree. So it's all revolving around one person who is unable to be got hold of, except by Tom Brokaw, which is very, very strange. Very strange. Okay, now, let us look at how much money was raised. Do you know how much money was raised by the Democrats? No. 15 million. A lot of money. A lot of money. Very scary, isn't it, so far? Okay. This is where it starts to get really interesting. Let us look a little closer at this web. Why do they want to stay in the Lincoln bedroom? Where's the money coming from?
Favored nation status.
Now, what does China get out of most favored nation status?
They get favorable trading conditions.
They get free access to American markets. American markets have free access to them. How much actual business goes to China?
Well, if I remember right, the actual amount of business that goes to China is approximately 2% of their whole gross national income.
Very, very little, isn't it? Very little. But coming here, it's higher, a lot higher. Now, by getting this most favored trade status, by sponsoring individuals going to the White House, what is in essence is Bill Clinton doing?
Well, what he's trying to do is build up a stable market relationship and open up the market to the Chinese, which, in light of the fact that they are financially actually well off, that's not a bad idea if it works. This is just a personal opinion, but I feel that the Chinese takeover of Hong Kong is going to have a lot to influence in that, as far as capitalism being one of the major contributors.
You didn't hear what happened to the gold market today. Okay, the Australians dumped a whole load of gold on the market and dropped the price dramatically. Now, there are 3 major trading areas in the world that deal with the gold. One is London, one is New York, and the other one is where?
Beijing.
Hong Kong. The gold market overall, because Australia dumped a lot of gold on the market, dropped the price. You see, the thing is with taking Hong Kong, is it fits very nicely into a nice picture that the Chinese are trying to manipulate. They can isolate it. The fact that they brought in 20,000 troops into Hong Kong means that they can control it. It can go on as it was before, isolated from the mainland because of the troops. Nothing's changed with Hong Kong.
I don't understand about the gold. Why would that have influence in Hong Kong?
Because Hong Kong is one of the world's leading traders for gold.
Right.
If the price of gold goes down, right, it goes down in Hong Kong, New York, and London.
The Chinese?
It hurts everybody. It hurts everybody. You see, your government can think it's getting into Chinese markets through Hong Kong.
Right.
But the fact that Hong Kong is just a trade center distributing to other places in the world. For example, let's say, okay, your guys go, okay, we're going to send you 1 million pairs of Nikes, right? We're going to send it to you through Hong Kong. Chinese go, great. Okay, bring it in. Let's say each pair of Nikes costs the Chinese $20, right? Okay, they bring it into their country. Right? They turn around, bring it into Hong Kong. They turn around and they can sell it to Great Britain, Australia, Canada, back to the US, to all sorts of businesses the world over for, let's say, $40. It's never even entered into mainland China. And the money is pouring into the Chinese coffers. America thinks that it's importing into China, but it's not. Very clever. Very, very smart. So you see what's happening? Okay, lastly, but not least, Northern Ireland. What a trial of a new Prime Minister. Last year, when John Major was in power, he did not allow the marches. Well, not all of them. He allowed some of them. And those were controlled very, very tightly. And were only allowed to march so far. This year, new Prime Minister. He goes, okay, we'll let them march. We will have the police clear the way so that they can march to their traditional places and observe their traditional observations and return back. Oh, bad call, isn't it? What happens? Last year there were little riots. Very little riots, nothing major. One person was killed. Very little in the loss of damage. But this year, they let them march. There's mass rioting, mass burning, trains are burned. IRA gets involved. One man dies, a Protestant, with a pipe bomb. His own pipe bomb. Over 100 individuals injured in rioting. Where last year, one man was killed, and only maybe 10 people were injured. Most of those were silly things. Doesn't look good so far for a new Prime Minister, does it? He's not doing a very good job of it, is he?
He's working on it.
But poorly. Poorly. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, what's Australasia? Asia. That
Um,
combination of the two?
Yeah, pretty much so.
I've never heard that term before.
Australasia.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the Pacific Rim. Australia, Malaysia, New Zealand, Japan, coastal China, Borneo, Sumatra, all that area. The Philippines.
Alright, so how does all the problems right now that are affecting Japan, the Chinese market, and Australia dumping the price of gold affect our slow growth in the stock market?
In a big way. Remember what one of the factors I said would be. External influences. Think. What's happening?
Okay. Next question is, how close are these occurrences in relation to what happened back in the major crash back in 28,
29.
29?
The thing is that with today's communications, everything happens on a global scale and much faster. So therefore, when it happens, it's going to be much larger, much quicker, much faster. Because communications being instantaneous. Yeah, you can send a message halfway around the world, right? Let's just say you send an email to a buddy in Australia, right? How long is it going to take for your email to go from your computer to his computer?
Hardly any time at all.
Correct. How long is it going to take for the news of one stock market going crazy to reach another stock market?
Same time it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So the mechanisms that are in place to stop that from happening, though, will kick in a lot faster.
Might and might not. See, the mechanisms to stop that from happening are also what's going to cause it to happen. Yeah, they're keeping the prices high. Okay?
Okay. Artificially high?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Some of the things that are happening are artificial. Others aren't. There's too many to actually go into. I mean, I've already taken up about 20 minutes. And we have quite a few speakers to go tonight.
Okay, well, that'll do then.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Greetings, Russ. Quickly, let's get down to business.
Alrighty.
Okay. Let us look at the current state of the mind of your race. Okay, we have going on at present, at this very moment as it happens, although it is quieting down, rioting in Northern Ireland. This is not a new problem. The newspapers in your country are reporting it as imperial colonialists enforcing their will on a small island nation. This is wrong. This is inaccurate. The majority in Northern Ireland is Protestant. the minority are Catholics. Okay, let us look at other instances going on. Hong Kong. Troops within Hong Kong, 20,000 to be precise, patrolling a little island nation. Why? Tia was quite correct in her analogy. It is to isolate the country, to let it continue as it was, but with Chinese control. How long will it take before China, a dictatorship basically, takes total control? Well, for them to do so would be a very bad move. But to open up and invite capitalism in, again, would be a bad move. So, why not leave it as it is? Isolate it, control it, you have the perfect setup. You also have extra financial and fiscal income. Okay, let us look at another matter going on. Sierra Leone, another little hot spot. The consciousness of this area is a little confusing. It seems to be an ethnic conflict. Let us move on again to the former Yugoslavia and Bosnia. The United Nations today said it will not tolerate people interfering within the elections in Bosnia. Basically, it was hinting at Radovan Bankarovic. But in their actions and comments, they themselves are interfering. Let's move on again. Let us move to, I believe there was some rioting in Indonesia. What is going on there? Well, it seems.
So, how are these things all related? Well, they are related in the fact that they are all negative controlling factors in a negative way in the evolutionary of the mind. China, interfering in Hong Kong and controlling Hong Kong. That is basically controlling not just a small area, but a lot of the Pacific area. All the other instances that involve rioting, again, point to a strong growing of discontent. Now, let us look at recent elections throughout the world. Let us start off with 96 and the election of a democratic president to your country, basically a socialist. Let us look at France, recent election, socialist. Let us look at Mexico. A little bit of an upset there. Socialists win. What does this tell us? It tells us that there are selected individuals throughout your world that have got control of governments. They are saying to the people, and the people are listening, let us take care of you. Let us help you. Let us take all your worries away and we will make things better. You do not have to worry. What is this doing for us?
Well, this is basically letting people have to be taken care of. What communism?
Correct. Okay, one question.
For me,
for you.
I asked you.
Yes. Thank you.
Um, if you're saying that socialism is on the rise, why is it everywhere you look, it seems that more than capitalism is actually taking over the world?
And before I answer this question, I asked you, I said, one question. And you said, for me? That is a question. My reply was yes. Now, do you wish me to answer this, knowing full well what the price is?
Oh, no, well, yes.
Okay. He cut you good, didn't he? He cut you well. I think he deserves a glass of wine for that. You say no thank you. Okay. Be careful. Next speaker. Greetings and felicitations, Mr. Hatfield. Let us get down to business quickly and precisely as myself, a mole, and Quarton have council duties. Okay, let us address matters at hand. Recently, and this is very important, it has been brought to my attention that somebody external to the group has need of help. The individual that brought this to my attention is the host. He came to me and asked for assistance. This is my reply on how to activate the defense mechanisms. This must be relayed to the person concerned. Defense mechanisms are activated when necessary to protect the individual. The way that this is done is to find the light and dark spot where those both meet, where light and dark meet. Within that is inscription for individual activation of defense mechanisms. How to defend oneself against thoughts from outside of a group consciousness. How to control and separate from it. The primary function of these defense mechanisms is to sever communications from a group consciousness. This is achieved by a ritual, praying to oneself, one's higher self, looking for the answer on how to proceed, whether it is right or wrong, making that decision. Once this has been achieved, the individual proceeds along these lines. Ritual. Doing a binding, which is not binding as in the sense of Wicca or other spirits. It is binding the mind to protect it. Binding group consciousness by using insertions of your easier understanding of virus. Inserting a virus or erroneous thoughts within the group consciousness. This is done by selecting certain key words that only the individual that is activating this knows. By selecting these words and shutting out the leader of the group consciousness, shuts down and breaks the connection. Understanding that by breaking the connection,
the individual that has had the connection taken away from will try to retaliate using whatever factors the individual wishes or thinks necessary. The individual breaking away must stick to their course. This is very important. It is important that the individual stays apart and the course. There are other ways of dealing with these matters. They normally involve a quite dangerous for the person outside, that an outside source has dealings with these situations can break the connection. It is not necessary to tell the person involved of the dangers that the external party takes upon themselves. Normally these individuals that do that are very experienced and fully aware of the situation and the danger and are prepared to take these risks. Okay, let us move on to objectives and goals of development of your consciousness and your group consciousness of your family. The primary function of development of these skills is A. To bring yourselves to a higher level of learning and understanding. B. To proceed on a spiritual path that is beneficial not to the individual but to the group. C. To combine both these factors together and use them effectively as a tool for the next logical evolutionary step. D. Reacting in a way that is necessary to maintain necessary pathways for this evolutionary step. Do you have any questions?
Yes. In the exact same frame. Everything else comes secondary to all those particular parts.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, right, so let me quickly explain what was going on. The first part is, yes, it can go on quick. This is a very nice how to break away from the group consciousness.
See, I'm a little lost on everything he just said except the last part.
Okay, the last parts can go on the web as well.
Yeah.
The first part also go on the web.
They are related.
They are related, yes, but it is of a personal nature for the parties involved.
Sure.
I will explain who the parties are. The parties are a disincarnate spirit and Mark. It might be necessary to discuss it with Mark to understand fully what is going on. Okay. Thank you. Hello. Okay.
I hope you're in as much the dark as I am, your sweetheart.
I'm totally in the dark.
Oh, good. I hate to be the only one in this crowd that didn't have a clue what the hell going on.
I don't know. She's not telling me. And he's not telling me. And I'm definitely not asking Ashtar. I'm almost a little.
Actually, the second part was highly informative.
Very short and concise, but very important.
Yeah, I mean, that's typically his way of doing it. I couldn't think of any more real good questions that would be hinging on that.
Okay. Let's get down to business first. Okay. I was going to give a dissertation on healing. For example, mixing using certain poultices. Let's get back to next one.
Okay.
As the atmosphere within your room has got a little bit darker than subdued, and your mood is a little bit negative, listen to 3 dissertations back to back, very fast, very informative, very deep. Yeah. Now, with a likely lead, the options are wider and more open than where you can perceive.
Okay, good. And from that new perspective, we'll work on a couple of different things here.
Okay.
Mainly the last part of it, Ashtar was talking about, which is the gathering of a group, right? The exclusion of yourself to the needs of the group. Now, in the first place, what is the kind of group it's talking about? Is this a teaching learning group between all individuals?
That's what you need.
Sorry.
Okay, what he is talking about is the overall group of your plan, the group consciousness.
Oh,
Okay, and being able to work within that for the veteran of conscious mind.
that's a little more clear. And when I asked, is everything else being secondary to that?
This looks yes.
Yeah. So that would mean that anything having to do with self is secondary.
Yes, to a certain extent.
Okay.
The exceptions are where it involves destroying one's own well-being for the group, for a fruitless cause.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up.
Let's look at it this way. The best way to describe it is this way. Something that says the welfare of a ship to make the ultimate sacrifice. And to shut down radiation, they go in there themselves, expose themselves to mass radiation, and stop the leak. They basically trade their life, their shipmates. That is acceptable. Now, let us say a medic. The odds are way against it. And they are heavily outnumbered. Now, a medic can do one of two things. Carry on treating the wounded and helping the people live that are wounded. Or the medic can pick up a firearm and kill people attacking. Now, the situation is such that if the medic does not pick up a weapon, the medic is going to die. But the medic can save lives before the medic dies. But by picking up a firearm and killing the people attacking or wounding people attacking, incapacitating the instance, the people that the medic is tending will die. Now, is it right for the medic to take or cause harm of people attacking and letting the medic's patient or patients die? But if the medic does not do this action, the medic will die and the patients might live. Might. Now, which is right?
Or medic treating the people. The fact that you have on one side killing or incapacitating your enemy and letting your patients die. The only person left is you, pretty much, and your wounded people that you got to go treat that you just shot.
No, but you didn't hear it totally. I said that by not doing this action and treating the patients, the medic will die.
So he is giving up his life so that people he's treating them have a good shot at them. And the only person dying.
The answer is actually letting the patient die and keeping them alive. Because How can the medic treat other people if the medic is dead? Supposing the individuals that the medic has wounded can be saved by the medic after battle or after the invasion. Or let's say somebody very important is wounded in the battle. How can the medic save that wounded person if the medic is dead?
Well, in all respect, anybody who is wounded is very important. So everybody's important.
Correct.
Equally important.
But is it useful for the medic to throw away their life so that other people might live? Not will, might.
It will depend on the past lives of the medic and whether or not.
This doesn't enter into the past life. No. That is the first thing the medic has to know. His past lives are irrelevant. Is it necessary for the individual, the medic, to stay alive, to treat and heal other people? Or is it necessary for the medic to throw away their life?
Well, because he's treating and healing people before he ends his life.
But you can't do that once he's dead.
Is this what you guys do up there in 6th dimension in your high school or something? You come up with these questions?
Pretty much, yeah. And we think them. But the third dimensional way in this situation is practical.
That's weird. That is really
The
weird.
common mistake of healers and achieve the sixth dimension and being put in this situation is to go, I've got to treat my patients at all costs. The patient may have already decided to die. To keep the patients alive may in actual fact be doing a disservice. The patient may be there to teach you to stay alive. Did you see the importance?
Well, yeah, I do see the importance, but at the same time, I can't help but thinking that, for the medic to sit there and cause mayhem and destruction in the middle of saving somebody's life is, criminal.
How can the medic go on to help other people if the medic is dead?
Because how does the medic know he's not going to get killed while defending himself? There's no guarantee that somebody's not going to take a shot at him while he's up taking shots at other people. He dies. His patient dies. Everyone dies except for the people attacking. He has no guarantee about that. Whereas if he keeps working on the patient, they might come in and they might say, oh, he's treating the patient, he's a doctor. He could be useful. He could treat us in case we get hurt. Let's take him with us.
You don't know very much about medics.
I know a lot about battlefield tactics. Medics are usually a very valuable commodity.
If it's the best shot that you know, with the laser quicker. Have you ever seen me shoot kids, Martha? Do you know what my standing is with a rifle and shit? I am way above standing level.
I didn't know that, did I?
Most healers are incredible marks. Incredible. I can decide with a laser rifle, am I going to take a leg off, an arm, or am I going to kill? I can pick where I want to put that shot. I can decide how much force I'm going to apply, whether I'm going to knock the person out, just incapacitate them and keep them conscious, or terminate their life functions. Medics are by far best trained soldiers. They do not fight unless they absolutely have to. The importance of survival is trained hard into us. Lots of young medics have gone out with good training and have not grasped the fact of the importance of staying alive. Lots of young medics have come back in boxes because
of not understanding that it is necessary to stay alive so that they can treat their comrades.
I wouldn't say where my argument would be debated on that.
There are certain situations where it is necessary to lay down your life.
I mean, when you're outnumbered, outflanked, and you don't have a ghost of a chance, even with your good marksmanship, I mean, your best bet is just, whatever. You have to follow your heart.
No.
Just stay alive.
At that point, the duty of the medic is to get the wounded out as best as they can. Basically, what you do, and I've heard a great story of a young medic grabbing a soldier, or a wounded soldier, putting him on his back, and swimming a river, putting him on the other side of the river, swimming back and grabbing another wounded soldier, swimming the river, and putting the wounded soldier on the back, going down 4 more times, and rescuing 6 people in total, putting those wounded people in a safe area. And then he got killed accidentally by the shuttlecraft's landing. It's just one of those accidents that happen. That's what a medic does at medic. Then he continued to give covering fire to protect the wounded when he was going back to pick up fresh wound. And as he was retreating until he swam the river.
Okay. Alright. So we've eliminated frivolous, and we've established where priorities lie.
Right.
Okay. So, in reality, then, somebody, a biker from San Jose, comes up the lake. And, this is part of my group. Because I'm dealing on more of a world level than just individual level. So I don't know this guy. But yet, I need to think of him first and myself second. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. Where do I go with that?
Okay, when Ashtar talks in terms of overall with the species on where your species or our species should go, its ideal goals. This actually ties in with the medic question, right?
Good.
Now, you have an individual that you have to think of first. But that individual may want to hurt you, may want to steal your food, may want to steal your woman, may want to do all sorts of nasty things.
Right.
If you give him these things, how can you continue on your path if you have nothing? You can't. Exactly. But by not assisting him, giving him, or whatever, you have taught him less, which helps the group consciousness to a higher level. You see, you are a teacher and a pupil. By helping him, you have not learned anything, except by how easy it is to get rid of. He has not learned anything. But by talking and reasoning and pointing him on the right path, or giving him the seed and planting, will put him on a better path. You've now taught him and helped to raise the consciousness of the group.
Okay. So, in looking at that and making my decisions on how to work with this, I look at where best I can help my fellow member of my species,
Right.
in ways that will not take away from my ability to help other members of my species.
Right.
No sweat. Got it.
Okay.
Idea.
Don't have that much left on the tape, do we?
Sure. Find space.
Okay, but I put on the last speaker.
Oh, we got chit chat. Hey, Carrie.
Yo,
Is there any other speakers besides you that were supposed to come on?
no.
No problem.
I was just saying, better put the last speaker.
Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the species question, I'm sure, is quite easy to those you gone through these lessons for us just to get a grasp of that species stuff.
I think you would say primitive Neanderthals.
No, that would be more the Cro-Magnon, primitive Cro-Magnons.
I should say you're more along the lines of Homo erectus.
Good stuff up. How you doing, darling?
I'm doing fine.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. Again, your section is looking very painfully, woefully empty.
Didn't I give you a dissertation the other day?
Did, and I have got to it yet to get this put on the tape. So I look for any transcriptions I can get from Carrie's corner, throw them on the web, keep these little conversations going. Remember, now we have somebody who's going to help transcribe this stuff. And therefore, stuff's going to be a lot more current, a lot more on the web. 2 or 3 things from you at the same time out there now, instead of just one every other 2 years.
First of all, you can change my page on the page.
Your bios?
Yes.
Did.
When did you put that up?
What's always up there?
How long ago did you start the page?
A couple years ago.
About a year ago.
It's what, 59 now?
Well, actually, I'm 60.
So what difference does it make? You're younger now. If I go through and every year changes for all you guys when it gets to be your birthday, it sounds a little bit more third dimensional than I would even bother thinking you actually are.
Actually, no. The reason I'm doing this, I'm saying, bringing this issue up, is because people will start to question. Okay, let's say we've got a reader like Sampa, right? Or Paula, and I hope she's doing real well, right? She knows when the page was made, right? When it first went online. Or she's done transcriptions. Now, if you put down on the page something along the lines of the date that the bios were done, that will let people know that there is continuity being kept within the page.
Tara has a better idea.
And she has a better idea.
Okay,
Yes, I know what the idea is.
so let's do it.
Why not?
Okay, why not?
I don't like the idea of doing extra work.
What extra work?
Anyway.
All you do is tell me your birthday.
No!
No, yeah, sometime in a general sense, just say, yeah, sometime in the month of whatever, it was Carrie's birthday. She's now.
That's not our way. I know it's
It's just a thought, just to bring
But then-
people more interactive with the page and trying to bring in, cooperation and everything, so everybody's kind of like connected with you and me and the whole thing.
I was born on the moon of the cold nights, which I suppose would be somewhere like November, December, January in your scale.
Perfect. Pick a month. Any month.
Let's pick one in December.
December, excellent. Good call.
Mm-hmm.
December, Carrie turned 61. And anytime I'll change to 60.
Okay. Now this is a reason why we don't have birthdays.
I don't blame you one bit. Then how come we just celebrated the Baron's 234th?
That's because he may live only to 300 years old. But the reason the Baron's birthday was celebrated is the fact of it's not an accomplishment in himself. It's the fact that he is the number 2 top scoring ace, which makes it an achievement. Most pilots that are high up in that end are either retired or crippled or dead. Most pilots that are that age are okay pilots and they've long since retired. I mean, he can't have any more rejuvenations. Yeah. So basically, he's at the end of his life. And he's got another 65 years roughly.
So I mean, well, couldn't we we have to wait till they're like 835 before we can celebrate the birthday?
Yeah, basically. My grandmother does not celebrate her birthdays. When she turns 800, it becomes an achievement. When she turns 850, it becomes an achievement.
It's not the fact that you're 60 that bothers you.
No, birthdays don't mean anything. They don't mean anything else. That's what I'm trying to explain. Is that being 60 or 89 does not matter, or 90 does not matter. What does bother me is lack of continuity.
Right? Mm-hmm. People understand when they first read this at 58, it's still like, they know you're still not 58. They know you probably gained 10 years in the interior.
Yeah, but a new reader is going to think that I'm 58. Or she is 28. Or Cara is... I really don't know how old my sister is. Also know she's in her 80s.
You see, I'll do something. We'll do something.
All I know was I was born in the month of the cold moon. Something. And translating it to your air things is a little bit confusing. Tia says that she was born in the month of the horny deer. She said that's the closest translation.
Problem is, constitute a month. I was born in the month of rat.
You are a rat.
That's common.
Not the way I mean it. I mean it as a plague-bearing rodent. Tia says actually stuffed rat's quite nice. Mm-hmm. But you see the importance of that. It's continuity, dear. Continuity is important. If you ever become an engineer, you'll understand the importance of precision and following progression. If you ever become a passable computer engineer, you will understand the importance of that. One thing leads to another. You have to keep things right and correct. Correct? By not changing and updating something, what happens?